It started with what would Laura Roslin do? And now we're asking, what would Sharon Raydor do? Welcome to episode 5 of the What Would Sharon Raydor Do podcast, where we sit with the woman that knows her best, Mary McDonnell, and talk about Sharon's character, her interactions, and reactions. Since we're coming back from a hiatus, this episode is going to be a little bit more broad question-based instead of episode-based. Let's go ahead and dive right in. The last episode was focused on an all-day manhunt. So far this season until now, we've had several episodes that have spanned several days. Is there a preference about which type of episode you'd prefer to do?
Well, what I like about the episodes that span the course of one day only is that the pressure of time gives you a very natural and organic sense of urgency that you then don't have to keep alive when you're jumping back and forth between days on the crime and trying to figure out what day is this, how far into the crime are we during this season, because as you all know, but you probably forget a little bit watching, we don't shoot in sequence. So on day one of any given episode, we could be shooting the very last scene in the episode. Then we could jump back to scene number 2, day 2, and then jump forward to scene number 7, day 3. So we have to work very hard normally to figure out exactly where we are. What day is it? What clothes do I have on? What happened last night? Did I get to sleep at home? Or have I been in the murder room all night? Have I had breakfast? Or, those kind of things. So when we do a show that is just one day, it's actually easier to act in. And I love it.
And in response to that, is it hard to keep the intensity of the episodes like this week, where each scene builds up into the last?
No, it's actually easier when each scene builds into the last because you don't have to rearrange where you are emotionally. And you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like it just is happening as it happens in life. And the intensity stays alive much more readily for you when it's compact. So it's actually easier for all of us, actually.
So are you hoping to have more of those?
Well, I love them. I love those, and I love the connected episodes, like the 5-parter, and now we're in the middle of a 3-parter. So, well, actually, I think we're still on part 1 of a 3-parter, but we know we're about to start part 2 of the 3-parter. And it's so exciting to have an ongoing crime. I love it because it just keeps your mind alive, and you don't have to finish something and tie it up and then start something new. It's a bigger deal because you can't solve it. And I like that.
Well, that definitely gives us something to look forward to as well.
I know.
Yay. So, next question. We've seen Sharon and Andrea have 2 very different kinds of interactions, both in the professional setting when they're navigating and working to find a resolution, and on a more personal level, like with the adoption of Rusty and during Andy's illness last season. Those personal seasons are so rare in general on major crimes. Is it hard to find those moments in the acting and when so much of the rest of the show is focused on the crime?
Well, you go looking for them, because those personal moments keep you, they keep you vibrant, they keep you human. And I think it's very, very interesting. And I'm so, so, so sad that we actually don't have Kata today. I apologize to all of you. It was just a big scheduling snafu, and we weren't able to do what we intended to do. So we're going to circle back around to that and try and do it next one, because I know how much you adore her, all of you, and I know how excited you are, as were we. So anyway, I just threw that in there because I was thinking about Kata. Now, in terms of those personal moments, you look for them, you hope they end up staying in the script, and then you hope that something perhaps that you do together influences future writing, right? But what I find really interesting, and I think this is maybe true in the world a little bit, is that women in the workplace in high-powered positions have a tendency to be a little more economical and straightforward, even in their relationships at work. They probably save it for after, whereas the men feel a little bit more entitled to bromance all they want. And I find that fact absolutely fascinating. Now, I honestly do believe that we are changing. We are in the midst of a big change. Go Hillary. But, and it's very heartening to see, but we're not there yet, where women in the workplace can also be free to be congenial with each other openly and sort of have as much fun. And perhaps they never will, because women are multitasking constantly. So there's a different economy in what they do. But Kata and I definitely look for moments where we can connect. And over the years, James Duff and the writers have found a few of those around the character of Rusty. So we look forward to it.
So, speaking in terms of women in the workplace and being strong role models, we have a question from Ms. Mira, and she wants to know, how do you handle and feel about creating and being a strong role model for many of your female viewers?
I feel very proud of it. Honestly, I value it dearly. It isn't something I ever set out to do in any of the parts I've played. I haven't said, or no, there wasn't a point where I said I only want to play women who are role models, and it's not that conscious an evolution for me. Parts came to me, and fortunately I was available to do them at the right time. So what has happened with particularly the last couple of roles, because I've been playing very defined leaders. These are not women who are leaders in their own right but don't have a position of leadership. These are women who truly are running things. So a whole different level of role model has emerged out of these characters. And I just feel lucky because it allows me to see more visibly what particularly young women are looking for. It allows young women to reveal themselves to me in a way that I don't think they would normally. And my peers, I find it very encouraging, because my peers then open up more to me about their struggles as women in leadership roles or whatever. So I think the person that benefits the most out of being a role model to others is the role model herself. It's just a very, very lucky position to be fortunate enough to experience, really.
I love that answer.
Oh, well, good. Justy loves the answer. Ding, 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 ding.
I might edit that out. I don't know yet.
We should get a bell. Or I should have little prizes.
Oh my gosh,
You know
that'd
what I
be
mean?
hilarious.
Like if someone asks a question that you or I love, or you like the answer I gave them or something, we should send a prize to the question, the person. It
Or just
would
like
be
a
so much fun.
tweet being like, your question was awesome.
Your question won. We should get a little sound of a tweet, like a bird going tweet, 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 tweet.
I can find those.
Oh dear. All right, so stay tuned, not only for the brilliant Kata Mazer eventually, but also we're going to have a tweet. We're going to find a little tweet ding ding.
Because life is better with sound effects.
It is.
It really is.
Oh my goodness sakes, I know. It's really interesting. Like sometimes when you're looping a show, and for any of you who don't know what that means, it means that you go back into a sound booth, or sometimes right on the set, but in a sound booth, you've got headphones on, you're looking at footage from your show, and you're re-recording the sound. And what happens, or what has happened in the past, when I've done it for films is that the actual soundtrack with all the sounds of life is not necessarily there, and you have to try and match your voice in a vacuum, and it's a very frightening experience not to have any sound effects whatsoever.
I don't even want to try that.
I know. It's fun though.
Oh, well, now I feel like I probably should. Anyway,
No shoulds.
just do it.
Yeah, right. Like the Nike ad says.
We can't, well, can we mention Nike?
Why not?
We'll
We
do
just
it.
plugged them.
Right.
I mean, you know, we didn't say anything
Nike,
bad.
if you're listening.
Nike, if
we
you're
love
listening,
you.
we'd like some more shoes.
Shoes, workout wear,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, just so you know, it's really, really fun to record these. So I guess we should go back into more fan questions.
Yeah.
They're really good. You guys always ask great questions. It's so fun looking through and seeing what everybody's wondering about Sharon. Judy Henson would like to know, do you think that your character has changed over the seasons, especially in her behavior towards other characters?
Yes, I do think she's changed because what happens is, or what we all know happened at the beginning of this, is she's well aware that not one person in that squad trusted her. And so to begin to find a life amongst people who do not trust you is a very trepidatious thing. And you always have this decision to make at any moment. Should I try a little harder, or should I just keep going and hope they'll figure out eventually that I'm okay? And so she didn't have to do that anymore. I mean, for the most part, they really do trust her. She's proven herself to be trustworthy and smart and fair. And so she's relaxed and she's able to understand them a little more deeply personally and to observe them more freely than when she was working hard at making sure they were perceiving her correctly. So that's the big switcheroo. Oh, dear.
So our next fan question comes from Liz on Twitter. She says, Sharon seems capable of handling whatever life throws at her. We haven't yet seen her push to the extremes, and she seems able to keep her emotions in check. What are the challenges and possible frustrations of playing someone with such a level of inner control?
I think the challenges are that for me to play her requires tremendous discipline and focus on goals. I'm much more emotional and a bit more scattered than Sharon Raydor. Chelsea is laughing at me, everybody, and I can't imagine why. I mean, no, I think many of you know me well enough to know that I could trip over my own feet if I didn't think about placing them in front of me. And Sharon, my challenge in playing Sharon is that she really does have a sharp focus on goals, and she's got a lid on her feeling state. Doesn't mean that she's very empathetic, but she doesn't express feelings according to her moods or whims as they occur. She compartmentalizes them a lot. The frustrations in playing that role is that you don't get to diva out whenever you feel like it, and you don't get big, long emotional arias, and you don't get those things that sometimes make you go home, and you're in the van going home, and you're like, oh, damn, I was so good today. I had this whole big crying scene, and it just poured right out of me, or whatever. You don't get to have that satisfaction. And I will say, that is a satisfaction that can often be misleading as to whether or not it actually was a good performance. Because sometimes when the actor is feeling all this stuff and it's just flowing and flowing, then you see it back and they have wisely snipped it so close to the bone. Because in fact, human beings don't, emote on that level really. So, I admire her. And she teaches me a lot, and she gives me, I'm inspired by her economy. but sometimes I'd love to be able to cut loose a bit more. Yeah, for sure. And I will say for all of you that there's some things coming up in this particular season, and I think Sharon does run into some difficulties that you may have not experienced with her so far.
More stuff to look forward to.
Yeah,
Guys, this is like the best episode ever. You're just getting all these spoilers, but not real spoilers.
not really.
Not really. Just get
No,
excited.
just get excited. Oh. Oh, by the way, I have to thank you all from the bottom of my heart and everyone else here. Our numbers are just so spectacular and so strong, and all of you are doing it. We couldn't be more grateful. We feel so solid, and it's just everyone's happy. The crew is just ecstatic. You know, this is a big deal to have job security for hundreds of people. It is a big, big deal. And people who work together this long do become a family. And so you've watched people be born, you've watched them grow up. You know who's trying to pay for elementary school, who's trying to get the kids through college, who's trying to buy a house, who just got their first car. We all know this. So the employment that this is creating, the commerce is so beautiful and healthy. And so we all thank you dearly for continuing to be loyal to us. I just had to say that.
Tearing up a little bit.
I am a little bit.
Oh gosh, you guys. I don't know if I can handle Mary crying a little bit.
No, you can't. No.
So.
We'll pretend I'm Sharon.
Sharon, just a little tear, just one.
Yeah.
So you've spoken a lot about Sharon's sense of justice and her respect for it. And Soph on Twitter wants to know, do you think that Sharon and Andrea have the same vision of said justice?
Oh, it's a great question. And we will, I promise you, who wrote this?
Soph.
Soph? Mm-hmm. I promise you, Soph, we will revisit this again with Kata here. We'll circle back to it because we could have quite a talk about this. I'll just say that I think that they both have a deep respect for the justice system. They've got a very similar, I would say, background in moving into things in their professional life. But as always, I think that we project onto our systems, whether it's politics or government, any kind of system, we project our personal energies into it when we are practicing it every day. So what will be good is that in the future we will open this question back up and Kata and I can talk about it together and see if we can define like what we think are the similarities and what we think are the differences. It'll be very interesting for us too. So as they say something in our business, put a pin in that. I'm putting a pin in that question. Okay.
From there, Renee Whitfield had a really great question. Is Sharon a woman of faith or spirituality? We've heard talk of, her not divorcing Jack because she was Catholic. Mm-hmm. And how does that affect her decision making?
Sharon is a practicing Catholic. Catholicism for her is like an ethos. It's not a thing that she does because she was raised that way and maybe she'll be a better person if she keeps doing it. It's something that is a part of her, and she evaluates life in relationship to very simply, the Ten Commandments, which there's nothing simple about following those Ten Commandments, but it can be seen in the culture as simplistic, and it's so deep, really. So her Catholicism, very important to her. It's a central part of her point of view on life, and she's very grateful for it. Renee, whether or not that affects her decision making. Yes, of course it does, because you can choose to relate to crime. Let's just talk about crime. On the one hand, when you're solving crime, the point is to solve the crime and get rid of, as Andy would say, all the dirtbags, the idiots, right? That's true. And that is not to diminish Andy's commitment or his feeling about any of it, because it runs deep and true. But people behave differently around things. And I think that Sharon's faith and her religion influence the respect that she tries to maintain within and towards everybody involved in a crime. And she may be at times unable to, I don't know, sometimes I think Sharon's faith keeps her a little bit distant from the crime in a way, because she tries not to, it's going to sound very odd because she sends people, to jail, but she tries not to, oddly enough, judge. And there's some kind of discrepancy in there that I'm actually thinking about a lot these days, is that very question. So I think we'll learn a little bit about that this season too, perhaps. Something more about Sharon and how the way she thinks, how does that affect her decision making, and how is that different from someone else's? Yeah.
Just want to say thank you guys again for sending in all of your questions and for listening to this podcast and for being so involved with the show. And if you have questions for this next episode, please tweet at us with hashtag WWSRD, Facebook us, Instagram. You can comment on the majorcrimestv.net page right under this podcast. We love hearing from you guys. Mary, do you want to sign us out?
Yes. This broadcast has been brought to you in part by majorcrimestv.net.